For centuries, the Cambodian jungle guarded one of history's greatest engineering secrets. But this wasn't just a forgotten wall. It belonged to something far greater. As the jungle slowly gave way, the explorer realized this wasn't a temple. In the 19th century, a European explorer walked through these forgotten ruins and revealed their incredible scale to the outside world. But one question echoed through every silent corridor. How? Then he looked beyond the endless corridors. Stone towers rose. The walls weren't empty. Every stone had been carved with stories. But the towers were only the beginning. Beyond them stood an entire city of stone. It wasn't just one magnificent temple. It was the heart of an entire civilization. But one question refused to disappear. How could people 800 years ago build something this extraordinary? The deeper archaeologists looked, the more they realized this wasn't simply a temple. Then the numbers began to tell an even more astonishing story. Angkor Wat was never meant to stand alone. It was the magnificent center of an empire. But then another mystery appeared. Where did millions of stone blocks come from? The answer lay far beyond the temples. In distant mountains, where the journey of every stone first began. These hills held the secret. Long before a single temple rose above the jungle, its stones waited here. Here, the impossible finally began. One stone at a time. Cutting the stone was only the beginning. The greatest challenge was moving it across the wilderness. Every single block still faced an incredible journey through dense forests before reaching Angkor. But then, nature fought back. Heavy rains turned the jungle. Then, the journey reached its next great challenge. The rivers would become. Now, every movement had to be perfect. One mistake could send months of work into the river. With patience and precision, the rivers became the lifelines that carried an empire, stone by stone. But these weren't ordinary rivers. They were part of an enormous water network built by the Khmer. Every journey ended at the same place. Every stone had a purpose. But bringing the stone to Angkor solved only half the mystery. How did they lift it so high? Reaching the top wasn't the final challenge. Every stone had to fit with remarkable precision. The builders weren't finished. Now the stone would become a story that could last forever. These carvings were never mere decoration. They preserved the memories, beliefs, and triumphs of an entire civilization. But a masterpiece like this could never have been built by chance. Someone imagined it all. The more researchers studied Angkor, the more they discovered nothing had been placed by accident. And then another mystery appeared. The temple wasn't only aligned with. To the Khmer, this wasn't simply a temple. It was a symbolic. The vast moat surrounding Angkor wasn't built for beauty alone. It was part of one of history's greatest water engineering systems. But the canals led to something even more astonishing: gigantic reservoirs. From these great reservoirs, water flowed through hundreds of canals, bringing life to fields, villages, and an empire. Reliable water meant reliable harvests. Reliable harvests fed hundreds of thousands of people. At its height, Angkor was more than a magnificent temple. It became one of the largest cities. But then, something began to change. The system that had sustained an empire started to fail. Then the climate became increasingly unpredictable. Years of intense floods were followed by devastating droughts. And then, slowly, the city began to grow. Quiet, not overnight, but over generations. As people left the city, the jungle slowly returned. Stone gave way to nature. For centuries, the jungle guarded its secret. Until one day. Since then, every discovery has revealed another piece of the story. A civilization, Angkor, would never just a monument. It became a reminder that yet Angkor was never truly lost. Its stones still whisper the. Today, people from every corner of the world walk the same paths once traveled by. Today, the mission is no longer to build. It is Angkor. We inherited their story. But one day, future generations may ask the very same question about us. Nearly 9 centuries have passed. Yet, these ancient stones, empires have risen, empires have fallen, yet Angkor still stands, watching time pass. For nearly 900 years, these silent stones have carried one message across the generations. The greatest legacy of Angkor was never its towers or its walls. It was the knowledge. History doesn't simply remember what civilizations built. It remembers. The greatest legacy of Angkor was never its towers or its walls. It was the knowledge that made them possible. Long after our footsteps have faded, our choices continue to echo through history. Every sunrise that touches these ancient stones reminds us that history never truly ends. It simply waits to be remembered. Stone can weather, forests can reclaim, even empires can disappear. Perhaps the greatest purpose history is not to admire the past, but to guide our future. And perhaps that is why Angkor still matters today. Not because it survived the centuries, but because its story still inspires. Perhaps the true measure of a civilization is not how long it lasts. The hands that carved these stones have long returned to history, but their vision still lives within every wall. Today, Angkor belongs not only to one nation, but to the shared. Time cannot erase the dreams that shaped these stones, because perhaps the greatest monuments are not those that survive. One day, centuries from now, others may stand where we once stood. And so, Angkor is no longer just a place. Thank you for walking through history with us. May the story of Angkor continue to inspire. If this journey inspired you, there are many more remarkable stories still waiting to be discovered. Because every civilization leaves behind a story.